times men got sent to jail on paternity court.
5 years in prison. And then I say, do you know who your son's father is? And you say, yes, I'm still in touch with him.
I've been taking care of these kids, and Your Honor, I've been going to jail, and I know for a fact that these kids aren't mine.
Mr. Lapine is seeking a paternity test as he doesn't want to end up in jail over child support again.
Mr. Lapine, you say you've spent years in jail for unpaid child support, and your life has been turned upside down.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tomorrow, you have yet another court date.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim you could be locked up again if today's results prove you are indeed Miss Lapine's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, Miss Lapine found the brutal truth like this.
We was at a family dinner and we was all just discussing how our parents was. Family members started saying that, well, you don't know if he's your dad or not because you don't look like your dad and he might not be your dad.
So the stakes are high at the start of the trial for this father in question.
For 30 years, all this time, you believe this young girl was your daughter.
Yes, ma'am. And I've been 4 to 5 years in jail, and it gets rough.
4 to 5 in jail
Yes, ma'am.
for unpaid child support.
Yes, Your Honor.
You actually have a court date tomorrow
1:30 tomorrow afternoon.
concerning the child support for this young woman that you're still behind on.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh man, Mr. Lapine has been on the same roller coaster for almost 30 years.
You ever been arrested for anything else besides this child support issue?
Never, ma'am. It's the only time I've ever been in jail.
So 30 years go by. 30 years you thinking you have a daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
You're going in and out of jail for child support as it relates to her.
Yes, ma'am.
When you get that phone call and she tells you a family member said that to her, you go back in time to that.
I went all the way back.
So the alleged father was kept foggy on the conception part.
Her mother being intimate with anybody else during that time?
I didn't know then.
So-
After me and her separated, I was told by friends of mine that they had slept with her.
She looks,
No, ma'am, she looks nothing like me. And the dark
but your
skin,
other daughter, you claim looks like you.
dark hair, dark skin, skinny, look identical to me.
Listening to this, Judge Lake called in the other daughter who told the court this.
Mr. Lapine is your father.
Yes. I mean, we were always teased about it, but
Who would tease you?
it's just different family members. So
What would they say?
it was just things like, oh, well, you're the milkman's baby, you know, stuff like that. And then it comes out and then you see it affect everybody. It's not just me and her, you know, it's our kid. It's, you know, everybody around it. It's our whole family.
Yeah, things like this to distraught families for their whole life.
I just got my mother's side of the genes. I look like my mom, but I always thought I had my dad's attitude.
Stakes, they really can't be any higher because they could send you back to jail.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a vicious cycle at some point. If you lose your job or you get behind in your support, then you go to jail. Well, even if you had a job, when you go to jail, you lose the job.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you come out of jail, you gotta find another job.
The father on the podium even told the court how brutally his first marriage had ended.
I left for 10 years.
You and her mother broke up.
I come home, she come into where I was sitting and told me, I want you to move out.
And how old was Miss Lapine then? How old was your daughter?
3 stuff and left. Now I wish I'd never left.
So, Mr. Lapine, you have regret
Yes, ma'am.
because you feel like you let your daughters down?
I did let them down, and I'm sorry. I wish I'd never left. I wasn't worried about what their mom had to say.
Oh man, we feel sorry for you too.
You haven't been able to catch up on this support, so you still are in fear of getting locked up all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
Always.
See, I'm on disability now, and when they take my child support out, I only get $600 a month after that. That's it.
So they're taking for your arrears.
Yes, ma'am.
But poor Brandy was in for her own fight, as she had no idea who her father was.
I have looked for this man, Bill, but there is 239 people all over.
Jerome,
the
let me
place.
see that.
I would not begin to know who to start with.
As much as we feel sorry for the young woman, we have to get to the result, in part because it will determine the Lapine family's fate.
Mr. Richard Lapine, you are her father. The next result, Ms. Brandy Lapine. Ms. Lapine, Mr. Richard Lapine is not your biological father.
Child support and jail time have led Mr. Redmond to paternity court.
And you currently owe more than $10,000 in child support for the defendant's 2 teenage daughters, LaQuandria Redmond and Kaisha Redmond, who you say are not yours. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Over 19 years, I've been taking care of these kids, and Your Honor, I've been going to jail, and I know for a fact that these kids aren't mine.
While Mr. Redmond believed that neither of the girls was his, Miss Patterson testified otherwise.
Your ex-husband says that he don't think either child is his. You don't believe that. You say they are his children.
They are his, ma'am. I never cheated on
And
him.
She's untrustworthy, Your Honor. I've caught her cheating on me numerous amount of times.
Mr. Redmond had even brought some sort of exhibit to express the instances in which he was cheated on.
This is a picture of me coming home from work, Your Honor. This was when we was married. I rode a bicycle in the cold to go to work. Your Honor, when I got home, it was a tall, dark-skinned man walking out of my apartment.
That is not true, Your
Miss
Honor.
Patterson, do you know anyone that looks like that?
No, Your Honor, I really don't.
Okay, so I don't know how that helps. Let's proceed further anyway.
Why do you think he is just making all of this up?
Your Honor, I don't know. To tell you the truth, this is what I used to go through when we was married.
Isha is not your child. That's what I want to
Because, Your
understand.
Honor, I was so furious with Miss Patterson. When we left her hometown, I slept on the couch. I wouldn't even sleep in the bed with her.
That can be a good reason to doubt paternity if Mr. Redmond is telling the truth.
Sleeping together.
We were-
That's
Yeah.
why you feel like you're not
Yes,
Taisha's
ma'am.
biological
That's not
father.
true, Your Honor.
After this, Miss Patterson pointed out that the whole doubt part kicked in after the divorce.
When I left him in 2000.
Were you also there for the entire birth while you had this doubt? Were you there for all of the appointments, the birth, everything?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so at that time, Miss Patterson, did you believe he doubts my children, or were you thinking that you all were just a married couple having children?
Yes, Your Honor.
Which one?
That we was married and, had kids.
So it was time to bring in the daughters because this trial was not leading anywhere.
We're here today discussing some paternity issues that are affecting your family, okay? What kind of relationship have you had with Mr. Redmond?
Nothing at all.
Really?
Yes.
And you've been told this is your father?
This is my father right here because she has been here my whole entire life.
Young Kaisha told the judge how her father had treated them all of those years.
We called him and he never gave us nothing when we asked for money or anything. Nothing. Ain't gonna do nothing. You don't help my mom pay bills. You don't help us with anything. I have to come out my pocket and help pay rent. You don't do nothing.
Ugh, poor things. We can't even imagine the pain you both had to go through. But the father at the podium reacted like this.
He's so disrespectful, Your Honor. I had to put up with the total disrespect of this young lady for a long time, Your Honor, from being called the B word, M and F and this, I don't care no more. Then I had to go to her
So
house.
do you believe that these are your biological children?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
All right, let's end this confusion for good.
Mr. Redmond, you are the father.
Mr. Connor believes that he's been paying to bring up someone else's child, and he wants to set the record straight.
Mr. Connor, you say a one-time fling with the defendant turned into more than 15 years of child support payments and even jail time for a child you have never believed is yours. You need today's results to prove you are not her child.
And Mr. Wallace was willing to give his father the benefit of the doubt.
You say you trust your mother, but acknowledge Mr. Connor's recent actions have given you doubt.
Mr. Connor backed up his testimony like this.
It's so important, Your Honor, because I need to undo a terrible injustice that's been inflicted upon me and my family. It's caused a lot of problems, financially especially. It's times when I can't afford things. I've even been to jail.
He even told the court how the child support has left him broke.
For failure to pay
For
child
failure
support.
to pay child support. That is correct, Your Honor. I was 36 years old. I had to start all over. It's making my character look real bad, Your Honor. I still owe $610. They're taking $70 a week. Yes, I'm broke.
But Miss Wallace got real emotional at these claims.
Your Honor, he just wants off child support. For one, it was more than just a one-night fling. I raised my 3 kids by myself. You not one time knew what I had to struggle and go through
Because I know he's not my son.
myself.
Not
All
my
right, so
problem.
I'm not sitting up here whining
It's
and
not
talking
my
about.
problem.
She even told the court how they had an affair for a whole year.
And in a whole year relationship, and we had sex numerous of times, Your Honor. And he did know. Well, I got sick. How I found out that I was pregnant. I got sick. My mom taking me to my doctor's appointment, and that's when I found out I was 2 months pregnant.
After that revelation, things escalated to this.
Years old, did you all ever have conversations about Jeffrey at all?
Yes, me and her
Yes, he
had a
told
couple
me
of
that he wanted to
conversations.
be in his son's life. I told him I did not want to be in a relationship with him, you know.
You're a professional liar.
I should not have to be in a relationship with a man in order for him to even help with his child.
The judge next asked Jeffrey how he found out about the paternity doubt.
Scene from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when Will is like having a conversation with his dad, and his dad is like trying to leave and basically not be a part of his life anymore. And they kind of shout to me, and they kind of both told me at that point that it's a possibility I may not be his child. And that was the first time I ever heard that. So it was kind of like just earth-shattering at that point for me.
Well, there's only one thing left. Let's get to that result.
Mr. Connor, you are not the father.
I already knew it. She committed a crime. She set me up. I knew this all the time.
Mr. Manser is in court today because he can't go on with paying child support anymore.
You claim you spent 5 years in prison for failing to pay child support for the defendant, Ms. Sears' son, Dylan.
Correct.
And it was never proven that you are his biological father.
When the judge asked him how he got stuck in all of this, he told the court this.
Mr. Manser, explain to the court the circumstances surrounding your arrest.
For Your Honor, I'm here to explain that 12 hours of my life cost me 5 years in the Department of Corrections. She was best friends with my aunt. We all lived in the same little community. She lived across the street. I knew of her. I knew her. I've spoken to her. But as far as intimacy, we was together one time. And I hate to be crude, but it was a one-night stand.
While Miss Sear found the whole situation as a joke.
I don't care what your version was. I was far from a one-night stand.
Living across the street from each other?
Far from a one-night
My wife's
stand.
gonna be upset because I live across the street from somebody I'm not dating now.
Oh, if I was your wife, I wouldn't trust you for nothing.
The unfastened told the court that he was named father by mistake.
I didn't find out anything about the child until I was served with papers in 1995. I was indigent, I was living at my mom's, didn't have a job at the time, so I didn't show up for court, and I was named the natural father by default.
And that default led to jail time of 5 years.
And then I went to prison for 5 years. When I got out of prison in 2003, I paid child support from that day until just February of last year when I lost my job.
Only because they garnished your wages.
Absolutely, that's what they do. And I actually asked my public defender, where's the proof? I've yet to see proof that the child's mine. He said that they obtained my DNA through a sample that was already on file.
However, it turned out that Mr. Manser himself had no doubts till poor Dylan got to the age of 18.
There was never even an issue of doubt until my son turned 18 years old.
Why would I? My check's being garnished.
You claimed him for 8.
So, now it was time to get the young man inside the courtroom.
I'm not really sure. I can't respect someone talking so much harmful to my mother.
And that's what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to do that.
Listening to this, the judge called up the result.
Mr. Manser, you are not
Oh, God.
his father.
Oh, man.
5 years in prison. And then I say, do you know who your son's father is? And you say, yes, I'm still in touch with him. That is a really huge pill to swallow.
Miss Rochelle is stuck in a paternity dispute and wants things sorted out.
4-year-old daughter, Jasmine, you confessed that one man signed your daughter's birth certificate, yet another man is paying child support. Now, Mr. Harris, you're the potential father who is paying support for a child you believe is not yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
The baby mama told the court how she was fooled by Harris.
That we could be together, so therefore he had me thinking we were together, but
It's just a hookup, that's all it was.
This was not a relationship.
It's not.
But you do admit to having a sexual relationship with Miss Rochelle.
I do.
And so at some point, you found out you were pregnant.
yes, Your Honor.
She also confessed to the court that at first, she hid the pregnancy from Mr. Harris.
Did you contact Mr. Harris?
No, I did not.
You didn't. Did this other man sign the birth certificate when the baby was born?
Yes, he did. The other guy was, because I know that Mr. Harris was not going to be there.
That is not true.
Wait, if she had that sorted out, why is Mr. Harris going to jail?
How you ended up paying child support for a child when you're not listed as the father, but you paying child support. How did that happen?
I didn't have a way to get there. I had another appointment, but I didn't make that one off, so they just deemed me as the father without actually
Again,
having
yeah,
DNA.
you were named the father by default because
Yes.
you failed to show up for your DNA test.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the default judgment said this.
Judgment of paternity, found to be the father of minor child. There it is. So you didn't show jail and you were deemed to be the father by default. You get hauled off to jail at some point?
Yes.
What happened?
They came to the house. At first, I thought I was arrested because of traffic tickets, but once I got to the jail, they actually pulled up my record, said that I owe like $6,000 back in child support.
But Mrs. Harris told that while her husband was in jail, the baby mama confessed that there was a possibility.
Any other men?
No, there's
She
not.
said there was one, Your Honor.
She told you there was one
Yes.
other?
When we started talking last year, when he was in jail, she never told me who, but she said one other guy besides my husband.
So where's the third guy?
There is only two. Because
Did you tell her 3?
No, I did
Yes,
not.
Your Honor.
So this conversation didn't happen?
No, it didn't.
Yes, Your Honor, it did.
The mama, on the other hand, only had this excuse.
The thing is that I want him to take care of his daughter.
Your Honor.
That's all I want, is for him to take care of his
How can you take care of a child that you're not even bonded with when you have the child and a guy there to take care of your child and who loves your child as his own? Why would you want to break?
I want Mr. Harris to be in her life.
So, now let's move on to the result.
Mr. Harris, you are the father.